webcam is not behaving. 1 second. 1 second. Webcam being a pain. Whenever I turn this computer off, it basically there I am. Hi everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we watch old 16mm films, and sometimes they don't have soundtracks, and sometimes they tend to go on what seems like forever. And so that last film we watched was This Is My Father's World, which was a silent film that was religious, and it was basically a bunch of amateur footage of different scenes with an occasional intertitle. I'm guessing to do this successfully, you would have an organist who would be playing along, playing some song, some hymn. But yeah, it loses something in the translation. I know, but I wanted to show it because, maybe some point it will resonate with somebody. But based on the comments, it resonated with nobody. So it quickly turned into talking about Star Trek, which just seems to be a default comment mode. Anyways, so today is purportedly Pi Day because it is 3 for March, and then it's the 14th. So 3.14 is the beginning numeral sequence for pi. And a lot of people are confusing that with the actual baked good, a pie, P-I-E. And I just want to remind everybody the true meaning of Pi Day with this film that I have shown in the past called The Meaning of Pi. Enjoy.
Circle, circle, circles. Still not sure what pi means. Radius, diameter, circumference. Where does pi fit in here? I just don't get it. Well, let's look at these notes again. Circles are among the most important of geometric concepts. We use them in machinery, in building, in art, for beauty and for utility. Yes? What else did Mr. Leonard tell us in math class about circles?
Wheels are circles, and wherever we have built moving machines, from wagons to automobiles, we have used wheels or circles. To visit a shop where tools are used is to see many circles being put to many different uses. For a circle is useful, and it is beautiful.
But how does that help me to understand pi?
To understand circles, we must study them. Let's begin by getting our terms straight. Using a compass, it is easy to draw a circle. What are the terms to consider?
Well, the center is the point around which the circle is described or drawn. Every point on that line is the same distance from the center. Any straight line from the circle to the center is a radius. And any straight line through the center, with its ends on the circle, is a diameter. The length of this line, the circle line, is the circumference. And that's as far as I got before. Except I drew a lot more circles. But what's this about pi?
To understand circles means to be able to measure them and compare measurements. Go ahead, John. You can do it. That yardstick ought to do the job. Now, make a point in your circle so you'll know where you began to measure. Just roll your circle over the measuring stick until the arrow comes around again, and you have the length of the circle, or the circumference. It's 31 7/16 inches. You can measure a circle after all.
It isn't hard to measure the diameter directly. If measuring will do it, well, here I go.
And now you should know a lot about circles. Maybe even something about pi. You've measured a lot of circles. This sprocket wheel with a diameter 8.5 inches long has a circumference of
26 5/8 inches. But still, what about pi?
In studying the circumferences and diameters of circles, you should notice something important. A circle with a diameter 2 inches long, the circumference of the circle is more than 6 inches long. A circle with longer diameter, say 3 inches, has a longer circumference too. That's just common sense, of course. The longer the diameter, the longer the circumference.
Let's keep going. I'm getting it.
Suppose you take the circle with diameter of 3 inches. You place that circle carefully, you measure that. You rotate the circle until you measure the circumference, and you record these measurements. Then you measure another circle. This circle has a diameter of 1 inch. You carefully prepare to measure the circumference of this circle. You find the circumference, and you record these measurements. These are the facts which have helped teachers of mathematics to develop the meaning of pi.
I think I'm beginning to understand, but not quite.
Let's think of the facts in a different way. Suppose we think of the two circles at the same time. Our small circle with a 1 inch diameter. Our large circle with a 3 inch diameter. We know already the circumference of each of these circles. Now, let's compare the length of the diameter of the small circle with its circumference. We can see this comparison by seeing how many diameters it takes to equal the circumference. We can see that it takes 3 diameters and a little more to equal the circumference of the small circle. What about the large circle? How many diameters will it take to equal the circumference of the large circle? Once again, we see it takes 3 diameters and a little more to equal the circumference.
Is that true of all circles? The 3 and a fraction diameters of any circle equal the circumference of that circle? I should be able to answer that. Let's figure the ratio of those I've measured. Ratio of circumference to diameter. My first measurement was circumference 31 7/16 inches, diameter 10 inches. 3.14. Well, I guess that proves something. They're all so nearly the same. Every one of them. You know, that's quite a discovery. The circumference is a little more than 3 times the diameter.
We usually use 3.14 as pi.
I didn't need to measure the circumference. To find the circumference, I could have just measured the diameter and multiplied by 3.14. And why couldn't I understand that when I read it before? Pi. Mathematical. The letter pi denoting the ratio of the circumference of a circle to the diameter. I'll bet I've read that a dozen times before and didn't know what it meant. the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. The value of this pi to 8 decimal places is 3.14159.265. Wow!
Pi can be written in many ways. All these are symbols for pi. To find the numerical value of this important ratio was one of the great problems of history. From the Old Testament, it is evident that the Hebrews considered the value of pi to be exactly 3. The ancient Egyptians apparently had some knowledge of the value of pi, but it was in Greece that the value of pi was more accurately determined. And from the Greek alphabet comes the name. The 16th letter of the ancient Greek alphabet is still used to name the relationship of the circumference of a circle to its diameter, 3.1416, sometimes used as 3 1/7 as a matter of convenience.
Pi. That's what I discovered just now. A circle. A radius. A diameter. And pi.
Kid, you're making fun of his voice. Weird, squeaky voice. Pre-puberty voice, or maybe mid-puberty voice. But yeah, that's pi. 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 It's a mathematical value. It is not a baked good. Although, all right. Behind me, I have on the film scanner, I have a film about the baked good. It's called Millions of Pies, and it was part of the NIT, National Educational Instructional Television series, Ripples. It's called Millions of Pies. So I'm going to go ahead, because I love pie, the food stuff, so let's go ahead and watch it. Millions of Pies. Enjoy. Bro, 1 second. How galling. It's a crappy Kodak splice, too. Oh, this is crap. Oh, 1 second. Alright, I'm gonna come back to this. Yeah, so Kodak made this tape splicer, which used pre-punched tape, where it punched out the sprockets, and yeah, it makes a weird like key, which is really annoying. So I have to fix it with a real tape splicer. And anyways, more information than you need to know? I don't know. Perhaps. So I'm making a splice. You can't see it because I don't have a camera down there to make it. But that's the way we start off the week. One of the things I noticed as I'm threading here is this film has the "can you say" vocabulary word, which is often attributed to Mr. Rogers. You know, where he said, where people that parody Mr. Rogers say, "Can you say blah?" Good, I knew you could. Well, this film, I've never seen a Mr. Rogers episode that had that, but this one does. This film which is not a Mr. Rogers film, has it. I'm in hell right now. Hold on. Don't know why I did that. Alright. Yeah, why don't you watch another film? What? But I want to show this film about pies right now. Only just a little bit longer. So I was gone Friday and Monday so I could attend a 6-year-old's birthday at Dollywood, and it was awesome. Even though the 6-year-old nearly got hit by Dolly Parton's entourage as we were exiting the park. So there you go. All right. Nope. Read it wrong right off the bat. I know, this is really tedious for you to watch, but we're going to do it. We're almost there. So close. So close. Alright, almost there. Place. Alright, we're going to switch over. Thanks.
In this program, children discover what clattering machines can do that people can't. For instance, can one mother make enough pies to feed a city full of hungry people at lunchtime?
The following is from NIT, National Instructional Television. Ripples.
Frankie, please don't eat the apples or I won't have enough for the apple turnover.
Like a big apple turnover?
Yes, if you don't eat all the apples.
It's great to be around the kitchen when Mom is baking good things to eat, smelling the apples and the cinnamon and the sugar cooking. Mom likes to cook for the family, and it looks so easy when she's peeling the apples in long, wiggly strips, slicing them to bite-sized pieces, measuring and sifting the flour, measuring the shortening, cutting in the flour and shortening to make a smooth dough, rolling the dough in flat, round shapes to hold the apple filling. Yes, cooking for the family is great. And eating Mom's cooking is best of all. Mmm. Does that make you hungry? But children go to school. And grown-ups go to work. When they go downtown where there are lots and lots of people, who feeds all of them when they get hungry? Who makes their turnovers? Someone must fix their food when they eat at cafeterias and restaurants. How could anyone make enough turnovers for that many people? It takes so much food to fill them up. Mom feeds 6 people every day. How long does it take her to peel apples for 6 turnovers? Supposing she had to peel enough apples to make 1,000,000 turnovers or more, could she do it? If she worked really fast? Maybe Frank could help her. That doesn't work very well, does it? No matter how Mom hurries, she can't work fast enough. To make millions of pies for all the people who eat in restaurants and cafeterias, we need machines. Machines most often imitate the motions man makes. But where man makes all kinds of motions himself, he builds separate machines for each part of the job. Watch. Mom mixes. A machine mixes. Mom rolls the dough. A different machine rolls the dough. Mom spoons on the apple filling. A different machine adds the apple filling. Mom rolls the dough, adds the filling, and folds the dough all herself. But different machines do each job: rolling, filling, folding, pinching. Mom pinches and trims the dough still at the same place by herself. But here's still a different machine, trimming the dough which people help remove. The machine has stamped out hundreds of turnovers, while Mom is still working on her 6. Mom sugars the turnovers. Another machine sugars and glazes the turnovers as they move along on a conveyor belt. We'll see many conveyor belts. Can you say conveyor belt? The conveyor belt delivers the turnovers to the baking trays. Mom puts her 6 in the oven. While hundreds of turnovers made with the help of machines go into the huge ovens. Here they come for Frank and Dad and the rest of the family. People in restaurants can eat their turnovers, just as Frank and his family eat theirs at home. But machines can help make many other kinds of foods that Mom makes too, like onion rings. Here's the first part of a very long machine that makes onion rings. Using machines instead of people is called automation. Automation. That means self-moving. Auto for self and mation for motion or moving. Automation. Can you say that? Here the onions are carried along by more conveyor belts. The onions move along by themselves. It takes Mom about 15 minutes to cut up enough onions for her family. It takes the machines about the same amount of time to fix onions for many rooms of people like this. Here is a pie-making machine. Can you tell what man motions the machine is imitating? But there are some things that just can't be done by machine as well as they can by people. Cakes can be mixed and baked by machine, and you can even frost a cake by machine. But for very special cakes that say, "Happy Birthday, Jennifer," or "Congratulations, Mother Fabriani," we need experts like Mrs. Ella Mae Johnson, who's been decorating special cakes for many years. Doesn't that look good? I wish it were my birthday. Have you got a birthday soon? Maybe Mrs. Johnson or your mom will be making you a birthday cake. Happy birthday, Mac. Lucky boy, Mac. Mom makes delicious hamburgers. Shaping the meat into juicy rounds ready to fry. But hamburgers by the hundreds can also be made by machine. Can you discover which man motion is imitated by the machine here? How many hamburgers can the machine make while Mom is making just one? Can you count them? Mom sometimes gets help that she could do without. Mom makes the best food anywhere, but even Mom is glad to have machines help her. Our world is such a busy one. We have so many things to do, so many places to be. We're glad that man has made machines to help us get our work done.
Produced by the Northern Virginia Educational Television Association. Ripples was created by a consortium of 12 educational agencies in association with NIT, National Instructional Television.
Oh boy, that was a lot. So NIT also did the Inside Out series and Self-Incorporated series, which we have shown on this channel many times. So somebody, Tom, I think, did a shout out and said and pointed out that I'm going to be interviewed and on another video podcast, which is called the Museum of Home Video. They're based in LA, and so I'll put in the comments the link, and it'll be at 7:30 tonight Pacific Standard Time. And I'm interviewed by Brett Berg, who is someone I've known for quite a while and has seen many of my screenings in Los Angeles and other places, and kind of picked out some of his favorite films. And and we watch some of them. So there you go. Let's see, what do we got here? I was so excited about showing that film that I kind of lost track of what I was showing. So I'm back in the archive today, but am I back? Am I like physically and mentally back? I don't know. I still feel like I'm on I-40 driving over the Smoky Mountains. Here's a film about Malaya, the land of tin and rubber. Enjoy.
At the southeastern tip of Asia, a narrow strip of land separates the Indian Ocean from the Pacific. This is the Malay Peninsula. At Singapore, some of the world's busiest shipping lanes cross. Here also lie rich tin mines and rubber plantations, two raw materials of greatest importance in war and peace. The southern tip of the Malay Peninsula lies only 80 miles from the equator. In this equatorial zone, the climate is intensely warm and humid, with very little seasonal change and an almost daily rainfall. Nearly 80% of the land area is covered with a moist, dense, and impenetrable tropical rainforest. Malaya's 8 million people, therefore, live on only 20% of the land area. Though much of this tropical forest is a barrier to transportation, some excellent roads run north and south through the country. Only a few steps from the paved highway, the tropical forest becomes so dense that even the brilliant equatorial sun cannot easily penetrate it. Today, some of this forest has been cleared and put to commercial use. Less than 100 years ago, rubber trees were brought to Malaya from Brazil. In this short period of time, Malaya has become one of the world's leading producers of rubber. Many rubber estates are owned by English firms because until recently, Malaya was governed by England. These are Tamil women from southern India. Since each of the thousands of trees must be tended daily, rubber estates imported workers from neighboring overpopulated countries such as India. Each morning, the women receive their instructions from the manager, who is also Indian. Armed with buckets, they set out to their assigned sections of the forest of rubber trees. Often they must walk long distances to reach that part of the estate in which they will work. The rubber tapper carefully scrapes the bark of each tree. It takes considerable skill to tap a rubber tree. If cut too deeply, the tree could be damaged and its yield reduced. By removing a thin slice of bark, the rubber sap, or latex as it is called, is made to flow along the downward cut. From the thick white liquid latex, crude rubber will be made. Out of each cut in the bark, the tree will drip for several hours into the collecting cup. The latex from many trees is collected shortly after noon each day. It takes strength to carry this thick and heavy liquid for a mile or more. In the afternoon, tappers from all sides begin to return to collecting stations, which are scattered throughout the estate. At the collecting shed, the pails are weighed in front of an inspector. He takes a sample of latex from each pail to test it for purity, to make sure that the tappers have not diluted the sap. When the measuring instrument floats this high in the liquid, the inspector knows that the latex is pure. Weights are recorded, and each worker is paid according to the amount of latex she has delivered. Many of these women are children and grandchildren of rubber workers who immigrated from India when the rubber boom started. On some estates, the latex is treated chemically and turned into sheets of crude rubber. This large estate prefers to ship its latex by rail to a processing plant further south. The manager of a rubber estate is responsible for securing the highest possible yield from his trees. He has been trained to recognize when a tree is old enough to be tapped and when too old to be worth tapping. He protects the trees from disease and inspects the planting of new groves. For this, the company provides him with a good house and a good income. He speaks Indian as well as English, and is expected to know some Malay and Chinese. While rubber is Malaya's most important export, it also has some of the world's best tin mines. Whenever he finds some free time from duties on the rubber estate, the manager drives over to the nearby tin mine to visit his brother who directs the operations here. This large tin mine is owned by an international corporation and administered by this young Indian who was trained in England. This is known as an open cast tin mine because the ore is dug from the surface of the ground. Through the many years that the mine has been producing, the shovels have dug deeper and deeper, digging themselves into this enormous pit. Modern machinery, imported usually from Great Britain, and the most up-to-date mining methods are used in Malaya. This conveyor carries the ore-bearing earth out of the pit. It runs a distance of nearly 2 miles. The miners here work in 4-hour shifts because of the extreme heat. 3 shifts load ore 12 hours a day. Thousands of tons can be transported daily by this efficient method of mining. But the giant shovels are capable of digging more earth than the conveyor can carry away, and so a small mining railroad carries even more of the tin-bearing earth out of the mine. The mining cars are pulled up the steep incline by means of a chain which is attached to a winch at the other end. At the top of the hill is the processing station which separates the metallic tin ore from clay, earth, and other impurities. In these huge beaters, water is mixed with the earth. The metallic tin ore is much heavier than the impurities, and it won't dissolve in water. Therefore, the tin ore sinks to the bottom of the beater while the other impurities are washed away. This muddy water will be used again and is returned to the reservoir through these long sluices. Great quantities of water are required in the processing of tin ore, and it is provided by Malaya's heavy rainfall. Again and again, the earth is mixed with water. Each step removes more and more impurities. Gradually, the water becomes cleaner, as only the metallic grains of pure tin ore remain. There are 2 large smelters in Malaya. At the smelter, the ore is further refined. Ships carry the heavy sacks filled with ore from the mines up country to the docks of the smelter on the island of Palabrani. Tin ore is heavy. Each bag weighs over 100 pounds. The ore is extremely valuable since tons of earth must be processed to fill just 1 sack. In the smelter, the tin ore is made pure or refined by a process of melting. After several days, the furnace is opened or tapped. The molten tin runs out into a bed of sand molds which have been prepared to receive it and where the metal will harden. The resulting ingots are over 99% pure tin. But tin is never used in pure form. It is mixed with other metals by many different processes and is invaluable in the manufacture of alloys which the industrial world needs, all the way from bronze bearings for ships and trains to the coating in the familiar tin can. Malaya exports 1/3 of the world's supply of tin, the rest coming mainly from South America. The growing demand for this precious metal makes Malaya a strategically important nation. The ships which receive the tin ingots here at the port of Singapore will carry them to mills and factories in Europe and America. The island of Singapore is connected by a causeway with the Malay Peninsula. The island is situated on the narrow Straits of Malacca between the Indian and the Pacific Oceans. For ships traveling between the 2 oceans, Singapore is a regular stop. Because of its strategic position on this strait, ships of many flags always fill the harbor of Singapore. Coming from Europe and America, ships refuel here and bring products from their native countries to this thriving commercial city. A broad canal carries small boats into the heart of the city where they are loaded and unloaded. The tall, modern buildings towering above the river reflect the prosperity which international commerce has brought to the island. Along the modern boulevards on the waterfront, large office buildings house the banks and financial firms that make Singapore the financial hub of Southeast Asia. Here, many English, American, Dutch, and German people deal not only in banking, but in rubber, tin, and shipping. Long association with England and other nations gives Singapore a modern cosmopolitan look. English and Chinese are the main languages spoken, and the signs are in both languages. Chinese firms control much of the large business and trade, and the population of the island is over half Chinese. Indians account for a large segment. The rest of the population is made up of Malays, who work mainly as farmers, cultivating vegetable gardens, fishing, or tending tiny rice paddies. This is Sago Lane, one of the market streets in the Chinese sector. The merchants of Sago Lane live and trade in the time-honored fashion of the small Chinese businessman, selling just enough fish each day to make sufficient profit to live, and just enough vegetables to buy rice. Fish, vegetables, and rice form the diet of the Chinese. Even the fruit market is international. These oranges come from California. Combining the different peoples who live in the Federation of Malaya and on the island of Singapore into a unified whole is one of the problems to be faced by this new nation. But with the wealth of the rubber forests, tin mines, and shipping, this problem may be overcome. And Malaya and Singapore may not only continue to progress as they have in the past, but become increasingly important in the modern world.
So, not to reveal too much about myself, but one of the things I watch before I fall asleep, as I disengage from the screens, I watch on my big screen TV as I'm slowly falling asleep on my couch. I watch, on YouTube, there's this channel called Dancing Bacons, and it is a Singapore couple who tour Asia and do kind of first-person explorations of different restaurants, different food markets or city markets, different novelty foods, and they're based in Singapore. And so I got to visit Singapore Burger King, Singapore IKEA, where else? Singapore 7-Eleven, and they go and eat different things. The funny thing is, I feel like the camera is, you can't see the main person who's doing the show, but you see his partner, who I think is his wife, but it could be her wife. I don't know. The Dancing Bacons person doesn't really show themselves. You kind of see their outline in glass sometimes, but so it often shows his partner, her eating various things, and then going and so the gold is when you find something that neither one of them likes. I mean, they go to 7-Eleven and they love everything at the 7-Eleven, or at Kentucky Fried Chicken, they love everything there. But every once in a while, they find something where it's just, they just do not like it. It is just, and so it's kind of great because they have a very low bar for what they like. I think we're gonna call it today. Oh yeah, it's almost 2. Thanks again so much for tuning in. We're back for this week, and upcoming weeks. I feel like I don't think we're doing any more traveling. But I appreciate you guys tuning in on Friday and Monday. And tomorrow we'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll watch some more films. I don't have any more films about pie, but maybe I'll find some more films about pie for next year. Everybody have a great rest of your day. We will see you soon. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, the notification thing. Tell your friends, your family. You can also hit the super thanks button and get us some cash that we will spend on coffee or something else. Let's see, what else? You can also go to patreon.com/avgeeks or ko-fi.com/avgeeks. Those are other great ways to support us. But even just watching what we got, going and watching other films that we've uploaded to the YouTube channel, there's advertising there that helps a little bit. So thanks, everybody. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon. Take care.